Our generation must be a revolutionary generation. Let me tell you what generation and revolution is. Generation is a group of individuals of similar ages who together have experienced a noteworthy historical event within a set period of time. Revolution is a fundamental change in power or organizational structure that takes place in a short period of time. In our video, we will use the 2011 Wukan incident to illustrate why our generation must be revolutionary. The Wukan incident is a rare example of successful movements against corrupt local authority in contemporary China. It is successful because more and more people were enlightened and that they finally attained freedom from the government. Since the abolition of agricultural taxes in 2006, village authorities have been increasingly siphoning money off through the sale of villagers' land. These unfair income distributions led to conflicts between farmers and corrupt village committees. Wukan, a small Guangdong village with a population of 13,000, is one of them. Since 1993, Wukan Village Committee sold around 21 million meter squares of land without proper compensation to the villagers. From 2009 through 2011, villagers petitioned and protested many times but were constantly suppressed by the village committee. But they never gave up. With concerted effort, they eventually elected their own village committee in 2012. The success is credited to the villagers' enlightenment, which according to Kant, is when men leave their self-caused immaturity and start using their own intelligence. Patriarch number 1. No one knows his true identity, but it is known that he is a Wukan villager. On the night of 2nd April 2009, he delivered countless leaflets to every corner of the village. In the leaflet, he expressed his anger at the unreasonable sale of a great deal of land in hometown Wukan, and appealed to the villagers to wake up from this ignorance. He is enlightened in the sense that he dares to use his own intelligence and expose the corruption of Wukan Village Committee in public. Impressed by his leaflet, some Wukan youngsters started to discuss about the sale of land in QQ groups and finally decided to take action. From June 2009 to March 2011, the youngsters petitioned for 11 times to the Guangzhou municipal government but never get any constructive response. In order to get more attention, more villagers protested in Wukan on the 21st and 22nd of September. However, the protest led to violent confrontation between villagers and police force. After Wukan's mass protests ended up in violence, villagers decided they needed someone to step it up. Some young villagers asked Mr. Lin to take lead. Mr. Lin is a respected elder in Wukan village. He is a wise man and enlightened individual. After taking up the lead, he gave a speech in the village center telling his people to use reasons and to collect evidence to fight for their case. On the other hand, he also asked the villagers to be law-abiding citizens and to organize peaceful protests. Mr. Lin's speech motivated and enlightened a few other young leaders in Wukan. Together, they brought their protests to the local government. On the spot, they received promising response. But several days later, some leaders were suddenly detained. Weary of the threat of the government forces, the villagers cordoned off their own village for a few days. Because of the blockage, villagers' livelihood was seriously affected. Many villagers donated money to help the poor, which reflected the solidarity among Wukan villagers. Worse still, one of the leaders, Mr. Xue Junpo, later died under the detention, which escalated the tension between the villagers and local authority. Under the mounting pressure from Wukan villagers and various media, the government finally allowed the villagers to elect their own village committee. It marked the preliminary success of the villagers towards enlightenment and revolution. According to Kant, all that is required for enlightenment is the freedom for man to make public use of his reason in all matters. Enlightenment is even inescapable if only the public is given the freedom by the guardians of society. In late September 2011, the Deputy Secretary of Guangdong Province Party Committee expressed his intention of promoting democratic election practices in Wukan. During the discussion on the election process, the government originally proposed a one household, one vote system, but the villagers insisted on a one person, one vote principle. After negotiation, the government finally accepted villagers' plan. Also, 13 publicly nominated candidates were allowed to deliver a public speech to mobilize villagers' support. Besides using their own intelligence, villagers also discussed with a private consultant from Beijing in order to carry out the election properly and fairly. On 3rd March 2012, Wukan villagers successfully elected their own new village committee, which would be responsible for claiming back their farmland. This election was generally considered as the first fair, just, and open village-level election in China. In conclusion, the Wukan incident illustrates the reciprocal relation between enlightenment and revolution. Enlightenment is an indispensable condition for revolution, and revolution will lead to further enlightenment. Here, enlightenment contributed to the success of Wukan's revolution. We see that enlightenment started with one person, Patriarch number 1, and gradually involved many more villages. It even influenced the guardians of Guangdong province, who finally allowed Wukan villagers more freedom. Furthermore, Wukan Revolution had a huge impact on other villages in China, bringing more people to enlightenment. First, it brings the severe social problem in current China to the surface, the conflict between farmers' right to use land and the increasing sale of land by corrupt village committees. Inspired by Wukan, villagers with similar problems such as Wukan and Longtou village also organized protests to expose social injustice with their own reason. Moreover, the Wukan incident is also significantly promoting the building of a civil society in China. Through the democratic election in Wukan, rural people in other areas learned more about the proper election practices from media, or they even went to Wukan to seek advice. More and more villages across China started to realize their own rights. Therefore, we can infer from the experience of Wukan that my generation must be a revolutionary one.
And you, all of you, are part of it.